All right. Anyway, I'm just going to talk a little bit while my Wi-Fi goes on and off. This is great. Okay. Oh, it's happening. There we are. Let me find this again. Making contributions by pull request. Okay. So this one. So here we are. No, we're not there yet. Darn. Thank you all for your patience. And sweet. So when we're talking about making contributions by pull request, we are specifically talking about mostly technical or document contributions. And as I've mentioned before, there is a very specific kind of workflow. There's a really, really useful graphic for this. Many of you will be familiar with this workflow, and many of you will not be familiar with this workflow. When you are working on any kind of Kubernetes repository, your first step is to fork the repository to your very own private GitHub account. I mean, not private, but like to your personal GitHub account. Then you will clone it to your local laptop. You will make changes on your local machine. That is step 3. You're going to check out, you're going to make changes on a branch, you're going to make commits on that branch, and you're going to push to your, and then you're going to make changes to your working directory. While this is going on, we highly recommend using git fetch and git rebase rather than git pull to keep your master branch updated. And then once you have made all your changes, you can commit to your feature branch, push that feature branch again to your fork of the repo. And then you will open a pull request from your personal fork of the project back to Kubernetes. In this example, we're using the Kubernetes core repository, but it is the same thing on all the repositories. So in this next part of the exercise, if you see someone trying to open a pull request from something that is not their own fork, you should say something. And you should say, you might want to close this pull request because this is not going to work. We do have safeguards in place. I am actually personally not sure what would happen if you tried to actually open a pull request, if you tried to push a branch directly up to the Kubernetes org. I have no idea what would happen. I have never dared to try it. I am terrified of what would happen. So I don't know. Some of you might be more adventurous or more lucky and learn things. In the meantime, you heard it from me. Fork and clone. Open a pull request from your fork. We talked about the main types of pull requests. Let's recap it again. We can fix bugs. We can write a feature. And then there's a special kind of pull request that's called a Kubernetes enhancement proposal. This is a very long, in-depth document about a feature that you, your company, your SIG, or your friends want to implement. And you are going to have to follow the steps from the Kubernetes enhancement proposal. This lives in, no, I'm not using this right. This lives in here. Here we are. Okay. This is an example of a bug fix. You can tell by looking at the stack of labels on the right. And you can see the description. You can see the SIGs and the kind that got added. It failed a couple tests. Somebody self-assigned, actually. Look at that. You can just hit /assign, and then now you're assigned as a reviewer. You see some LGTM and approve commands. And then what happens is once the robot sees that all the labels that are necessary are there, the robot will auto-merge your commit, your pull request into master. For a feature, you will see that the list of labels looks a little bit different. It'll say kind feature. There'll be a lot less red there. For some reason, we needed to add the OK to test label. Who can think about why we needed to add the OK to test label? Anyone? Yes? That's right, exactly. That's why that's there. Sorry, that was a bit loud. The size label gets put on automatically. That's really just to give your reviewers an idea of what kind of work they're looking at. And again, you'll see multiple bot commands and labels being added. And finally, when the PR is approved, we still have to pass tests. Sometimes our tests are flaky. That's not really a whole lot to worry about. Just hit retest. And then merge happens automatically. There is no button that you can hit that says merge. This is a good thing, because people like me would probably accidentally fat finger that button and it would be bad. Finally, this is what Kubernetes enhancement proposal looks like. And for this, I'm actually just going to go into the files changed, because there are there's some housekeeping up here. This is a big document. KEPs you would use if you plan to basically ship a major feature for Kubernetes. And we have a process for this. Notice that, let's make this a little bigger. No, this won't get bigger. Anyway, notice that we're now in the Kubernetes enhancements repo rather than in Kubernetes. Minor features, things where you just kind of, you want to change the color of a button, for example. That would be a regular issue that you file and then work on as a PR in the appropriate repository. Big features go into enhancements. And then people will talk about them and talk more. But you will also gain steam and help, and you can see if there's interest for your feature as well. Yes? Yes.
Is that different from if you did a review changes and went through that workflow and chose the approve button? Why is there no approve button?
On this repo, there's no approve button.
Why?
On some repos, there is an approve button. Because, for example, for a KEP, it doesn't make sense to have an approve button, right? It's not really practical for one person to be like, yeah, this looks fine to me. I mean, there's a process here, right? It's a committee process. Let's look at the other repo here. Well, this is not an open PR. Let's go look at an open one, provided my internet is working. This is an automated cherry pick. Let's look at this one. So I'm going to go to Files Changed, Review Changes. And here, we see we have comment, approve, and request changes. So I'm so glad you asked this, because this is actually super confusing. On some repositories, not all of them, if you hit approve here, that will be equal to a /LGTM. On other repositories, nothing will happen. It depends on how the automation is enabled. I actually wrote a feature for test infra that does exactly this, that makes the approve button, it didn't used to be enableable, that makes the approve button make /LGTM. The confusing part is that /approve is not the approve button from GitHub. Yeah. Cool. So those are the three kinds of pull requests you can make. In the Playground repo, it's basically, again, up to you what you would like to do. To get approval for your pull request, you open a pull request, you add all the labels, you wait for bot approval, you wait for the SIG or the code owners to approve that this is an okay thing that we want in the code base. And then we ask reviewers to look at the actual code and see if it looks good to them. If you get approved and LGTM and your tests pass, our automation called Tide merges the PR into the master branch. Here's a little bit of a review on labels for pull requests. I haven't really talked about milestones. I'm going to maybe talk about that as part of the release later. I'm kind of excited for you all to get started. Finding a reviewer can be difficult. I want to beg everyone in this room to be patient, but also to stay on top of your pull request and not get discouraged if no one looks at it. If no one has looked at your pull request for a couple days, go look into the communication channels that Noah talked about. Go look at the owner's files and find out who is a code owner for your changes. Hunt them down. Tag them on GitHub. Ask politely, hey, I opened a pull request. What do people think? Where can I get some feedback on this? Just be loud, raise your hand, be polite, be kind. Sometimes there's so much noise that we don't notice. I swear, I just found an issue filed this morning that had CC'd me twice. It was from October. I didn't notice because I have so many notifications. So it depends. Following up, that's on you. Please be as courteous as you expect everyone else to be. If somebody is on your PR and gives you a code review, please work on it and get back to them. Comment, have a discussion. Not everyone in this room is used to working remotely. This is just some of the churn that comes with working with a large remote team. So it's really important that you answer and address comments. Sometimes the bot will tell you that you need to rebase. That's on you. Most rebases are going to be pretty easy, and you can look for the Git documentation to help you out there. Every once in a while, of course, you'll have some horrible merge conflicts, and I am so sorry. Same thing with test failures. I already mentioned that you can tell the bot to retest your pull request, but sometimes there's like a linting error, or you failed to run the go vet thing before you submitted your pull request. So you might want to do that first. Tim will talk a little bit about that, I think. But go look at the test failures, find out what broke, fix it. Again, that's on you. Yes.
Can you test locally before you submit?
Yes, you can. And I believe that my friend Tim is going to talk about that after the pull request exercise. So this exercise is, again, really only there to introduce you to the Kubernetes automation and how to get reviews. I'm going to, I'm so glad I put this slide in there. I know that most of you signed the CLA, but the CLA is only good for the username that you signed the CLA under. So every once in a while, some people will change their Git config and change their username. And if you do that, then the bot is going to be like, I'm sorry, I don't trust you. So before you do anything, just run git config user.name in your terminal and verify that that's the one you used to sign a CLA. If you have high confidence that that's what you did, if you only have one GitHub address, that's fine. But every once in a while, we run into issues with this. Yeah? I don't actually know. These are one of the things that I run twice a year, and then if you all had legal clear you should be good. Okay. So again, if you need help, Tim and Yang are going to be able to help you out. Pick 2 people on your table. Actually, no, before we do anything, I want you to all to go to the Seattle folder on the contributor playground. And look at the owner's file. There is a long list of approvers. Some of those people are at your table. Go look. Every table should look at these owners' files and find out which one of them is a reviewer and which one of them is an approver. If I have misspelled some usernames, I am really, really sorry. But each table should have at least 1 approver and at least 1 reviewer. I tried to go for 2 and 3. The reason we separate this out by tables is so that you can immediately check in with people in real time. Sorry. Cool. So once you have figured out who that is, yeah, I totally did this over lunch. So if you're all mad with who you wound up being, it's totally all my fault. You can come yell at me later. So again, for the pull request, pick 2 people at your table. They can be ones that are maybe not in the owner's file and see what happens. But it really ultimately just pick 2 people who are comfortable opening a pull request. This can be a good thing to do is add a file in which you're introducing yourself. And then open a pull request saying like, new file for contributor awesome. And then your table will review those. Let's have maybe 2 pull requests per table. And your table will review those. Everyone can comment. Everyone can look at the code and suggest changes. And by code, I mean, your markdown files. But only the reviewers and approvers can actually interact with the bot to add the necessary labels. Any questions? Ready? Go. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Ooh, I see. Oh, that's familiar. I see a couple people whose CLA did not go through, and I apologize on behalf of the entire community that this process is so painful. If somebody's PR is getting flagged with a CLA no, have somebody else on your tables open another pull request. So just in case you want to figure out what some more bot commands are that you might need, I put the link on the slide up here. All right, so we're getting close to the top of the hour, which means it's time for local test and build of Kubernetes. However, some of you have asked me this question before. They're like, so I gathered all the labels. I get green check marks on my pull request. Why is it not merging? That is because we have a merge pool, and there's another tool called Tide, which basically checks for all the things that are necessary on your pull request. It goes into a merge pool, and it will wait to merge your pull request because on some of our repos, the commit chain works so quickly. There's so many commits to master all the time that by the time your pull request is ready and reviewed and passed tests, your tests are already out of date. So what Tide does, it gathers all the pull requests, runs the tests one more time before merging. And so if currently your pull request has all the green arrows, that just means you sit tight and wait until Tide comes around and merges your pull request. This is also a relatively new tool to work in this way. Tide's been around for a while, but this is kind of the first time that I've seen it in action, which is fabulous. And this is one of those things you get used to it. Lots of changes, lots of updates. So if your PR is not merging, just hang on and wait. It will happen. Here's hoping.